Hey, what's up? Today is Friday the 8th of November. I have just completed my 33rd flight. I am now 42.6, I believe, hours in, and I just completed my first long cross country, and it really took me essentially almost all over Jamaica. It's been a while leading up into this flight. I was really looking forward to it. And when I first heard the premise of it, where we have to go from Tinson to Sangster to Ian Fleming and then back to Tinson, hearing that for the first time, it sounded a little daunting, because I'm like, wow, that's a long time. That's not a little 20 minutes to and 20 minutes from Vernon Field. That's 50 minutes to, 50 minutes then, and then 20 minutes back. So it's essentially a 2-hour flight when you account for stuff like wind. But the more cross-country flights I did, the more confident I became in myself and my own ability to carry out a flight like this safely. And also I became more comfortable and more used to the aircraft, more used to flying cross countries, and it has really started to grow on me. Today, honestly, it's probably the best flight I've had so far in terms of sheer enjoyment and what I was able to see, what I was able to learn. It just felt like a lot happened in those 2 hours, and I'm very, very grateful. I give no credit other than to the Father up above and his Son Jesus, because without him and his Son, I would not be where I am right now. I'm just so grateful that I'm now 33 flights in. Some people aren't able to get to their first, some people aren't even get to 10 for whatever reasons, and I've just been blessed to be able to continue this journey. And each flight I need to really appreciate that, because the farther I go, it is the more that I have to look back and get to appreciate how far I've come. So for the first leg of the flight, when we were going from Tinson to Sangster, we were initially planning to fly at 4,500 feet, but shortly after we reached 4,500 feet, we started to notice that clouds weren't really stopping at 4,500 feet. So we actually had to end up increasing our altitude, and we couldn't just go to 5,000 or 5,500. So the east and west rules apply for our altitudes. So we either have to go at 4,500 or 6,500 or 8,500. Of course, we chose 6,500, and that was the highest I've been up so far in general aviation. And it's really cold. It's really cold. For a Jamaican like me, it is really cold up there. I know for sure I need to start walking with a long sleeve shirt or a jacket when I'm going back to do that solo flight. But it was still amazing to get that high, get to experience it, get to feel the difference in performance, having to lean the mixture and everything. That was a nice experience. I was really expecting that I would have been more apprehensive or a little scared about going so high, because I already had issues going to 3,000 way back at the start of the training with the maneuvers. However, I guess, I got used to it. So now 6,500, although it is 3,500 feet higher, it was still very manageable. So I'm proud that I was able to not have any problems at all as it relates to feeling adjusted, feeling prepared for that altitude. And it also didn't really look that high as I was expecting. That may have been because we were traveling over some terrain, so maybe just the ground was closer overall. But even when we were over some flat areas, it didn't really look that high. I guess that really was all in my head, and hey, mind over matter. Now, Sangster's airspace is a lot more active than Manly, a lot more active. So we couldn't just really go in there as we want and then go ahead and land how we want. We had to actually make sure we were on time with everything. We weren't doing a full stop landing at Sangster, because if we did a full stop and came off the runway, we would have had to wait a good while to get back on the runway, depending on the time of day. So it was just a touch and go. And when I tell you we planned this perfectly, or we reached there at the perfect time, it was literally perfect. Because as we were turning base to final, we had an American 737 right behind us. Although he was at 5,500 feet, by the time we touched and took off back, he was already landed. So that just goes to show how much quicker these jets move. It's a shame I wasn't able to see it, but I'll have multiple chances to go back to Sangster as a private pilot. So I just have to keep on working there. The leg now from Sangster to Ian Fleming was very interesting, because it's really just following the North Coast, which I'm somewhat familiar with, because the North Coast is very popular for Jamaicans to use to go from Kingston to Montego Bay. Being able to see the North Coast Highway, it was really, really cool, because I didn't really feel lost. So I was able to just look, oh, hey, I know that hotel. I know that the hill that's right there. Or I know that rest stop that's right there, because it's all just places along the highway. So that was really nice to be able to see. But it wasn't all sunshine, literally, because as we were heading towards Ian Fleming, we would have been going east eastwards towards Ian Fleming, and if we look to our left, that would have been north. And we were able to see these huge cumulonimbuses making their way to the island. And I was like, whoa, it's kind of intimidating just seeing them all hovering over the water, slowly making their way into the island. But you know, we had to push through, not to worry about it too much. It wasn't an immediate hazard, but it was definitely something for us to be aware of in terms of how quickly can we get there in time so we can beat this. Because we had a strong headwind on the way back, a very strong headwind. So having those storms in mind was definitely crucial. Praise be to God, we were able to make it to Ian Fleming, land without any issues. And I redeemed myself from the last time I was at Ian Fleming. I didn't have any scares. I executed an almost perfect crosswind landing. Obviously, it wasn't perfect. There's always room for improvement. However, it was much better than my last flight. So I'm very proud of that. Now, taking back off from Ian Fleming, heading back towards Tinson. That's a flight I've done multiple times by now. That wasn't really the highlight of today's flight. The highlight of today's flight was the leg from Kingston to Montego Bay, and then Montego Bay to Ian Fleming. So the return leg, that wasn't an issue. However, we couldn't go the same route because there was also a development of storms on the east coast of the island. And those were already taking place over the Blue Mountain area, the Blue Mountain Stony Hill area. We weren't able to just go through Highgate and then go through Stony Hill. So we had to then turn back, kind of like we're going away from Ian Fleming, and then get into the Yorton Valley. The Yorton Valley now, there's a big bauxite area right there. So it was just very easy to identify on Google Maps, for example. And then we were able to just go through Yorton Valley, find back our starting point of the day, which would have been Flatbridge in St. Catherine. And then from Flatbridge, now we were able to go around the Stony Hill area and reach back to Kingston. It was very nice to learn that route because it is going to be my alternate option in the event that I do a solo or I'm just flying as a private pilot. And I noticed that Stony Hill is blocked off. I now know how to identify and navigate my way to the Yorton Valley and then back out. It also was a little interesting coming back through the Yorton Valley because we had broken communication with manual radar. So there was a time where we actually had to contact Tinson Tower. We tried to have them relay the information, but I don't think they heard us clearly enough because of the distance. So we just had to make sure that we kept on trying to call until eventually manual radar heard us, and then we were able to give them more information. Hey, we're going here and here. Now we're heading right here. So it all worked out. I also redeemed myself with my soft field landings. Today was my best soft field landing yet, and that was on the final landing of today, going back to Tinson Pen. I also learned something very valuable about crosswind landings. I noticed that sometimes when I have my crosswind landings, the plane it's like it jerks back to where I just had it corrected. So I used to always wonder, I guess that's I don't, what am I doing wrong there? I didn't really think about it, because that's what happened in one of my solo landings. When I upload the full unedited solo, you'll be able to see that my second landing, I believe, it was very uncoordinated upon touchdown. Everything else was fine, but upon touchdown, it would be seen as if I shifted right to left or then left to right, whichever way it was. And now I've received feedback from my instructor that I was actually taking out the rudder correction too early. So now I know that I need to keep that rudder correction right until touchdown. Then I can use the rudder to take back out the correction and straighten the nose upon touchdown. Because when I take the correction out too early, it's going to snap back into the wind or snap back another direction, and then if the landing is going to be a little scuff. But fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So that's it. That's the last time that's going to happen to me, because I made sure I made my notes and now it's never going to happen to me again. I also was able to try out my new headset today, the U-Fly Quiet L1s. They're these in-ear headsets which I've been looking at because I never really like the over-ear headphones for flying, because I've been flying with them for 1 hour. I don't think I've ever passed 2 hours with them, and even then they were getting uncomfortable around my ears and on my head. So I knew for sure that, hey, I need to get something which is light, which does not press on my head and which does not press on my ears, because I don't know if I have big ears or something, but they always would seem to irritate my ears after a good, not even long, technically not even long of wearing, because people fly cross-country flights that are 3-4 hours long. So imagine if I had to deal with that discomfort when doing one of those long cross countries. So fortunately, this headset was able to come actually just in time so I can practice using them on my long cross country flights. And that's exactly what I was able to do today, and they worked flawlessly. They worked exactly as I intended. I just need to make sure I'm very delicate with them because they're not the strongest built. However, as long as it keeps working, the more I take care of it, then that's fine by me. Good return on investment. So with the dual long cross country flight out of the way, next up is my solo long cross country flight. So that will hopefully be next week, and Of course, God willing, weather permitting, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability and make it back in one piece. But other than that, that wraps up flight number 33. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you made it this far, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you want to learn more about my journey as a young man, my journey of becoming a pilot in Jamaica, because I'm telling you right now, it is a very viable option. So stick around so you can learn more. Other than that, my name's been Robert Watson. Remember to always be improving. I'll see you again very soon. God bless.
Yeah. I only tell you the truth. I ain't got nothing to lose. Yeah, I gave my life to God and I'm still ballin'. Ain't nobody that can tell me I ain't all in. Late at night I hear the devil steady calling me. That's when I pray to the Father that He give me strength to fight these monsters.